The desperate plea. The observation deck of the Celestial Assembly shattered as plasma fire tore through the crystalline walls. Ambassador Thalorus clutched the railing with his four manipulator limbs, his compound eyes reflecting the chaos unfolding in the void beyond. Ships burned in the darkness. Beautiful vessels that had sailed peacefully between stars for millennia now twisted and broke apart like dying insects. Around him, representatives from 15 species scrambled for safety. Their voices created a cacophony of fear that no universal translator could organize into sense. The Valorians wept, their bioluminescent skin flickering erratically. The Korath tried to maintain order, but even their stone-like composure cracked under the weight of impending extinction. "All defensive positions have fallen," announced Chancellor Meverus, her translucent form trembling. "The Kinderax have broken through the outer rim. Our fleet is destroyed. Everything we built over 3,000 years is gone." Thalorus looked at the tactical display hovering above the central platform. Red markers swarmed across the hologram like a spreading infection. The Kinderax swarm moved as one massive organism, each ship acting as a cell in a vast predatory body. They had appeared 6 days ago from the galactic edge, and in less than a week, they had shattered the combined military might of the Celestial Assembly. The Assembly had always been proud of its peaceful nature. Wars were solved through dialogue. Conflicts were mediated. Violence was a last resort, employed with precision and restraint. Their weapons were designed to disable, not destroy. Their tactics prioritized minimal casualties and preservation of life. The Kinderax did not share these values. They consumed, they replicated, they spread, and they showed no mercy. "We must evacuate," someone shouted. "Save who we can and flee to the outer colonies." "The Kinderax will follow," replied another voice. "They always follow. They will hunt us across the galaxy until nothing remains." Thalorus felt the weight of the data crystal hidden in his ceremonial pouch. He had carried it for 300 years, passed down from his predecessor, who received it from the original survey team. Inside that crystal was information classified at the highest level. Information about a world that terrified the Assembly completely, that they had voted unanimously to quarantine it forever. Earth, the Death World, home to humanity. 3 centuries ago, an exploration vessel discovered a yellow star system on the galactic fringe. The third planet showed signs of advanced civilization, so they approached for standard first contact protocols. What they found made experienced diplomats flee in terror. The world itself was hostile beyond comprehension. Gravity so intense it would crush most assembly species within hours. Atmospheric pressure that would rupture delicate organs. Weather systems capable of devastating entire regions. Oceans filled with enormous predators. Land dominated by creatures with claws, fangs, and venom. And ruling over this nightmare world was a species that called themselves humans. The survey team studied them from orbit, fascinated and horrified in equal measure. These humans had no natural armor, no venom, no thick hide or powerful claws. Their bodies seemed fragile, designed for a gentler world. Yet they stood at the apex of their planet's food chain. They hunted animals 10 times their size using only primitive tools and cooperation. They survived in frozen wastelands where temperatures would kill most assembly species instantly. They thrived in deserts hot enough to boil water. They conquered mountains that reached into the thin upper atmosphere. They turned their entire world into their domain through sheer determination and adaptability. But what truly frightened the survey team was human history. These beings had fought wars across their entire planet for thousands of years. They developed increasingly devastating weapons. They created art about warfare. They told stories celebrating warriors. Violence was woven into their cultures so deeply that even their children played games involving combat. The Assembly Council made their decision quickly and unanimously. Humanity must never learn about the greater galaxy. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent. A quarantine zone was established around their solar system. Only 3 council members were given access to the data. The information was locked away, and humanity was left alone to evolve in isolation. Thalorus was one of those three keepers of the secret. 4 hours ago, when the last assembly battleship exploded and the Kindrax began their final approach, Thalorus made a choice that would brand him as either a savior or the greatest traitor in galactic history. He had broadcast a message to Earth on every communication frequency the ancient survey team had recorded. The message was simple, translated into the dominant human languages. We are the Celestial Assembly. We are under attack by an enemy we cannot defeat. We are dying. Please help. These are our coordinates. Now, as the chamber shook from another impact, his communication device pulsed with an incoming transmission. His heart hammered as he opened it with trembling manipulators. The message was in perfect assembly standard language, encrypted with codes that should not exist outside their most secure networks. Message received and understood. United Earth Fleet en route. Estimated arrival 18 hours. Hold your position. We are coming. 18 hours. They did not have 18 hours. The Kindrax would breach the station in 6 at most. Thalorus stood, his exoskeleton clicking as he rose to full height. His voice cut through the panicking crowd with surprising authority. I have committed the highest crime under assembly law. I have contacted the quarantined species. I have given them our location. I have asked them for military assistance. The chamber fell into shocked silence. Every eye, compound or simple, single or multiple, turned toward him. Chancellor Meverus's form solidified with horror. What species? The Drath Collective? The Border World clans? The humans, Thalorus said quietly. I contacted the humans from the Sol system. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Half the representatives screamed. Several collapsed. Meverus turned a sickly purple color that indicated extreme distress in her species. You have doomed us all, whispered Elder Corveth, his crystalline body resonating with despair. The survey data showed they are monsters, warriors who glorify violence. They will enslave us or worse. The Kindrax will kill us in hours, Thalorus replied, his voice steady despite his fear. The humans said they are coming. They responded when no one else would. Perhaps their violence is exactly what we need. I vote for immediate arrest, Chancellor Meverus declared. Thalorus has violated the Prime Directive. He must be detained. But before the vote could proceed, every display in the chamber flickered. The tactical officer's voice came through the communication system, high-pitched with shock. Multiple vessels detected entering the system. Configuration unknown. Speed exceeds anything in our database. They are coming from the direction of the Sol system. Kindrax reinforcements, someone whimpered. Negative. These signatures do not match Kindrax biotechnology. Counselors, they are sending a transmission, broadcasting on all frequencies in all assembly languages. A new voice filled the chamber. Female, calm, confident, speaking with an accent that no translator could quite place. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Starship Vanguard, commanding the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. We are here to assist. All Celestial Assembly forces, hold your positions. We are entering engagement range in 40 seconds. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives wept with relief. Others screamed in terror. Thalorus simply accessed the sensor data on his personal display. His compound eyes widened as he processed the numbers. The humans had not sent a small rescue force or a token gesture. They had sent an armada, 38 massive warships, each one more heavily armed than anything the Assembly had ever constructed, and surrounding them were hundreds of smaller attack craft moving in perfect formation. How is this possible? Meverus whispered. The survey data said they had barely achieved faster than light travel. These ships suggest centuries of advancement. Perhaps we should have checked on them more recently, Thalorus replied softly. On the main display, the human fleet crossed into weapons range of the Kindrax swarm. The entire chamber held its collective breath. The Kindrax, who had never retreated from any battle, who had consumed 40 civilizations without pause, opened fire first.
Thousands of bioplasma projectiles streaked toward the human ships. The human response was unlike anything the assembly had ever witnessed. Instead of energy shields that would eventually fail, the human ships employed thick armor that absorbed impacts. Instead of precise surgical strikes, they fired weapons that tore through Kindrak's ships with brutal efficiency. Railguns, missile batteries, plasma cannons, nuclear-tipped torpedoes. The humans fought with every weapon system they had developed, and each one was designed for one purpose: total destruction of the enemy. A Kindrak's hive ship, massive and powerful enough to destroy an entire assembly battle group, took a direct hit from a human railgun. The kinetic projectile punched through its organic armor and detonated inside. The hive ship broke apart, spilling thousands of Kindrak soldiers into the void. They fight without restraint, Elder Core.
When predators meet. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the Kindak swarm reorient toward her fleet. Around her, officers from Earth's finest military academies worked with practiced efficiency. Screens displayed tactical data. Communication channels buzzed with coordinated commands. The ship hummed with controlled energy. "Analysis, Commander Okafor," Chen ordered, her voice cutting through the focused tension. Commander James Okafor, a tactical genius from the Lagos Military Institute, studied his displays with intense concentration. His fingers moved across holographic controls, pulling up data on the alien threat. "Admiral, the Kindaks operate as a collective intelligence. Each ship is a node in a larger network. They use overwhelming numbers and biological weaponry. Their ships are partially organic, capable of limited self-repair. They accept casualties that would break any conventional force." Chen nodded slowly. "They fight like a swarm of locusts, consume everything, reproduce, move on." Essentially, yes, the assembly forces were completely unprepared. Their weapons are designed to minimize casualties and disable rather than destroy. Against an enemy that does not fear death, such tactics are useless. On the main view screen, the Kindak swarm filled the void like a living shadow. Thousands of ships, each one pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that suggested complex communication. They moved with eerie coordination, forming attack formations that seemed to flow like water. Chen had read every classified file about potential alien contact scenarios during her 30 years of service. She had trained for first contact situations ranging from peaceful diplomacy to defensive warfare. But standing here, facing an enemy that wanted only to consume and replicate, she felt the weight of human history on her shoulders. Humanity had been alone for so long, wondering if anyone else existed in the vast darkness. And now they knew. The galaxy was full of life, but it was also full of danger. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Formation Echo 7. We go in hard and fast. Target their larger vessels first. Show them what happens when they threaten civilized worlds." The Earth fleet moved as one entity. Decades of unified military doctrine and training created seamless coordination. The heavy battleships formed the center, their thick armor plating designed to withstand punishment. Cruisers flanked them, bristling with missile batteries. Destroyers and frigates spread out in a protective screen, their point defense systems ready to intercept incoming fire. The Kindaks attacked first. Bioplasma projectiles erupted from thousands of ships simultaneously, creating a storm of deadly energy that would have vaporized any assembly vessel. The human ships pushed through it, their armor scarred and burned, but held. A blade of plating designed to survive nuclear exchanges absorbed the impacts. Damage-controlled teams worked frantically to patch breaches, but the fleet maintained formation and continued their advance. "Return fire," Chen commanded. "All weapons free." The Vanguard's main railgun fired. The electromagnetic accelerator launched a tungsten carbide projectile at a significant fraction of light speed. The round crossed the distance in seconds and struck a Kindak's heavy cruiser directly amidships. The kinetic energy was so tremendous that the alien vessel simply disintegrated, torn apart by forces its organic structure could not withstand. Across the human fleet, similar weapons spoke with devastating effect. Missiles with fusion warheads detonated among Krindak's formations, vaporizing dozens of ships at once. Plasma cannons, developed from experimental fusion research, cut through biological armor like surgical lasers. Nuclear-tipped torpedoes created miniature suns that incinerated everything within their blast radius. The humans fought with a brutality born from thousands of years of warfare. Every weapon system was refined through countless conflicts on Earth. Every tactic was developed through hard-won experience. They did not fight to disable or capture. They fought to win. On the Celestial Assembly Station, Thelaras watched the battle with growing amazement. The tactical displays showed something unprecedented. The Krindak swarm, which had never retreated in recorded history, was faltering. "They are hesitating," Chancellor Mevris whispered, her translucent form flickering with confusion. "They fear now," Thelaras replied quietly. The Krindaks had never faced a species that fights like they do. In the heart of the Krindak swarm, deep within the largest hive ship, the Queen Mind processed the battle data with growing alarm. Her consciousness touched thousands of individual nodes, feeling each death as her collective diminished. These humans were not like the other species. The assembly fought defensively, always retreating, always trying to preserve life. But these newcomers advanced into danger. They traded damage for kills. They accepted their own casualties to inflict greater losses. They fought like apex predators defending territory. The Queen Mind reached a decision. She activated the ultimate weapon, a tool held in reserve for only the most dangerous threats. From her hive ship, a cloud emerged. Microscopic organisms, each one engineered to consume matter at the molecular level. The swarm of nano-devouring entities spread rapidly, an invisible death that would dissolve any ship it touched. The first human frigate that encountered the cloud began breaking apart. Metal hull plating bubbled and liquefied. Systems failed as circuitry was consumed. Within 2 minutes, the entire vessel was reduced to constituent atoms. 2 more human ships suffered the same fate before Admiral Chen understood the threat. "Emergency scatter pattern," she ordered immediately. "Do not let that cloud touch you. Get me analysis now." Okafor worked frantically at his station. "Admiral, it is a molecular-level bioweapon, consuming both organic and inorganic matter. Conventional weapons are useless. We cannot shoot something we cannot see." Chen stared at the spreading cloud on her tactical display. It was drifting toward the assembly station, where millions of civilians sheltered. If it reached them, nothing would survive. She looked at her weapons panel and entered a command sequence that required her personal authorization codes. Every officer on the bridge turned to look at her in shock. "Admiral," Okafor said carefully, "that is the Phoenix Protocol. Are you certain?" Phoenix Protocol, humanity's most extreme weapon, a device that generated temperatures matching the core of a star in a controlled spherical burst. It had been tested only twice, both times in uninhabited systems. The tests had sterilized everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. "I am certain," Chen replied. "Charge the Phoenix device. Target the center of that cloud." The Vanguard's main reactor diverted all available power to the weapon. Life support dropped to minimum levels. Lights dimmed across the ship. And then, the weapon fired. A sphere of pure fusion energy expanded from the Vanguard, racing toward the bioweapon at relativistic speed. When it struck, the temperature rose to levels that existed only in stellar cores. The molecular devourers were vaporized instantly, along with every Krindak ship within the blast radius. The energy release was so intense that sensors across the system registered the burst. The assembly station's shields flared, absorbing the secondary radiation, and when the light faded, the bioweapon was gone. But sensors immediately showed a new problem. The energy release had affected the orbital mechanics of the nearby planet. Not catastrophically, but enough to cause significant climate changes over time. Chen closed her eyes briefly. They had saved lives today, but potentially at a terrible cost. Before she could process the implications, her communication officer spoke urgently. "Admiral, the Krindaks are transmitting on all frequencies. It is a ceasefire request." The bridge fell silent. The Krindaks, who never negotiated, never retreated, were asking to stop fighting. Chen took a deep breath. "Put them through." The voice that emerged from the speakers was unlike anything heard before. Multiple voices speaking in harmony, creating an eerie chorus that the translators struggled to interpret. "Humans of Earth, we are the Krindaks Collective. We have consumed 47 civilizations across 300 years. None have fought as you do. None have matched our ferocity. We acknowledge you as worthy adversaries. We propose negotiation." Chen glanced at Okafor, who looked equally surprised. "This is unprecedented, Admiral. They have never stopped an invasion before." "Krindaks Collective, this is Admiral Chen. We are listening. A greater threat approaches, something that hunts both our kind. The Assembly knows of it, but has kept it secret. We came here fleeing that threat. We attacked because we needed resources to continue running. But we cannot run forever, and neither can you." Felleras, listening from the Assembly station, felt his blood run cold. The ancient prophecy, the thing from the void that the eldest civilizations whispered about in sacred texts. Admiral